16th March 2025. In the war between Ukraine and Russia, the intensity of fighting in the Donetsk region is increasing. Russian troops are operating in the most critical places. The most targeted areas are logistics areas, ammunition depots, and the road routes of the soldiers. Ukrainian soldiers continue to build trenches along the line. Along the 155-kilometer line, both countries are constantly making new reinforcements. Russian forces are identifying and setting up ambushes on the transit routes of Ukrainian troops. Here, Ukrainian troops crossing the river are also ambushed. Ukrainian soldiers are suffering heavy casualties in the face of this shock Russian offensive. They are vulnerable in their position and completely open targets. Even if they manage to leave, this team is completely disbanded. The ambush resulted in many casualties and casualties. Ambushed by Russian soldiers, these Ukrainian soldiers are targeted by the enemy in open terrain. Russian forces have now started to use ambush tactics intensively. Especially with the active use of the drone by Russia, the course of the war has changed drastically. Ukrainian soldiers are trapped. They face both drone attacks and mortar attacks. They've started to suffer casualties a few meters ahead of the line. The Ukrainian soldier realizes that they are being shot at from behind. They are completely caught in a crossfire. Still, they keep their cool, because the slightest panic here can lead to a mistake. He knows they need to get out of here now. That's why he has to hurry, but they have to keep fighting back before they retreat. He spots a Russian drone flying overhead, and he shoots to hit the drone. It's quite difficult. He fails to hit the drone. There's nothing to do now. This line is lost. They have to retreat. Ukrainian soldiers have to throw themselves into a safe area. They're heading for the wooded area just behind them. He was wounded by a mortar shell that landed right next to him. He must act quickly to survive. With difficulty, he manages to drag himself back. These images of this harsh intervention of Russia also show the intensity of the war. Russian troops continue to attack Ukrainian positions. These images are of a sudden Russian attack on the Ukrainian trenches. The attacking Russian soldiers found themselves facing the world's best-known German-made machine gun, the MG3. The Ukrainian soldier was obviously panicking, but he knows the power of this weapon in his hands. He's trying to reload, the most powerful defense weapon from the trench. The fact that this weapon is still used so efficiently shows the perfection of the German weapon. Not expecting such a defense, the Russian soldiers are forced to retreat. The Donetsk region is one of the most critical parts of the war, with a front line of 155 kilometers. Donetsk has become one of the most intense battlegrounds in the Ukraine-Russia war. Every day, artillery barrages, drone strikes, and brutal urban combat shape the front lines. Russia is pushing hard to capture key locations like Chasiv Yar, while Ukraine is desperately holding defensive positions, using precision strikes to slow the Russian advance. The battle is relentless, with trenches, fortified positions, and constant shelling turning the region into a wasteland of destruction. The fighting here isn't just about territory, it's about control over the flow of war itself. If Russia takes full control of Donetsk, it could launch further offensives westward, putting even more Ukrainian cities at risk. These Russian soldiers who were deployed to the Kursk region make trenches in the houses they find for themselves. But what they don't know is that they're being watched by a drone. Soon, chaos will be waiting for them. They panic after a bomb is dropped on them by a drone. But this time, they encounter bigger bombs. These ruined houses where they try to take shelter are completely blown up. In a few minutes, dozens of kamikaze drones attacked. One of the soldiers is trying to escape from the vehicles he came from, but the chances of escape are now very difficult. There's a drone after him. The remaining soldiers are filmed trying to find a new hiding place, but this shelter is not enough to protect them from the kamikaze drone. Thus, this Russian operation fails. On 15th March, Ukrainian forces destroyed a bridge in an air raid. This bridge was critical for the supply of supplies to Russia. In fact, it was just one of many bridges destroyed. By doing so, the advance of Russia is slowed down for a short time. This is how the Russian radar complex worth millions of dollars was hit. Images allegedly showing the first use of the new long-range missile Neptune at the Tuapse oil refinery in Russia on 14 March 2025. Information continues to come in that the oil refinery is still burning. Russian fiber-optic FPV drones pursue two Ukrainian vehicles between Sumy and Kursk. The first attempt is also unsuccessful. The occupants of the vehicle now realize the drone and start to accelerate, but not faster than the drone. This is how Russian kamikazes destroy another Ukrainian vehicle. A Russian soldier was filmed trying to hide from a pursuing drone. He thinks the drone won't see him, or that he can avoid it with a pole behind him. He's out in the open, so he doesn't stand much of a chance, but he's trying to do everything he can to get away. But he still can't get rid of the drone. So let's take a look at another drone footage. The Ukrainian Fanet group detects two Russian soldiers standing motionless while carrying supplies with drones. Then a kamikaze drone attack is carried out on these two soldiers. Ukrainian kamikaze drones are chasing these Russian soldiers near the Donetsk region. Drones entering the city are a nightmare for Russian soldiers. It's not just the Russians who can't do anything against the drones. At the same time, Russian drones are chasing many Ukrainian soldiers. Both sides continue to use these drones quite actively. Then let's show you a very different drone. What you see in this image is a Dragon drone. It's a nightmare for Russian soldiers hiding in the forest. So what is this drone? Ukraine is now using a new weapon on the battlefield, the Dragon drone. Small but deadly, this drone carries thermite bombs that turn Russian positions into a blazing inferno. Thermite burns at over 2,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt through metal and create fires that are nearly impossible to extinguish. Imagine Russian soldiers waiting in their trenches, unaware of what's coming. High above, a drone hovers silently, almost invisible in the sky. Then in an instant, a bright spark drops from it, and hell begins. Flames erupt, burning through fortifications, and the searing liquid seeps into every crevice. Panic spreads as soldiers realize water won't stop the fire. The Dragon drone is being used to burn Russian trenches, disable armored vehicles, and expose hidden troops. In forests, where Russian soldiers often take cover, a single thermite strike can ignite dry branches, setting the entire area on fire. As the conflict evolves, these new technologies are shaping the future of the battlefield, and the world is watching.